Hi, you little peas. I'm so excited for what would Laura do. I have my little poppers here today, my best friend's dog. And this is a segment where I answer your questions. And today, this one is all around should I pay? We're going to talk about money and being the breadwinner and all these kind of things about first date dynamics that I have a personal opinion on, and I'm going to give you my feedback around that. Hello, Cassandra, my baby boo. So I'm going to talk about that today. If you want to jump into our world, right now we have Boundless Bonita going on. This is a 3-day documentary series. So I'm fucking sick of masterclasses. And so we're doing a whole bunch of new things here this year where we're doing a documentary series for this one. We'll probably do a challenge for the next one. There's going to be stuff coming up where I'm going to be walking you through different ways of doing things, because I think a lot of you are brilliant fucking human beings and you have enough knowledge, and I want to actually show you how it's applied, especially as a high achieving CEO. Like, how do we actually do these things? So in Boundless Bonita, I'm going to be talking about body image. So overcoming body dysmorphia, fat phobia, body image issues, things of that nature, how to dress for the body that you have, how to show up confidently, how to get activated with self-pleasure, and like being able to have the sex that you desire, because I know a lot of us aren't having good sex, and I really believe that we would change the planet if we knew actually how to have good sex and communicate our needs, our wants, our desires, and to not be so focused on how we look, but actually how we feel. So I'm going to be showing you all of this behind the scenes, which is really cool. So I have been filming for the last few days of what I actually do day in and day out of how this applies. And then my best friend is going to be interviewing me to show you actually what's going on. So it's going to be raw, it's going to be real, it's going to be beautiful. Right now the price is $333. There's a payment plan available for that. And if you want all year, like I said, we're doing massive things here for body image, for relationships, for self-leadership all year long. And if you want to get in, we have a year-long membership that goes, like, you get like 50+% off on master classes. I think it breaks down to like $111 a month, maybe, or you can pay in full, which is even cheaper. So if you want to do that, that's Backstage Pass. You can reach out, or I have one-on-one spots available where you would get access to the entire product suite, including this. So whatever you're looking for, high level of support, or you're looking to learn, this is where you're at. And so today's question, my friends, hi, my name is Laura Patricia Martin. I am a trauma-informed relationship specialist. I'm basically a relationship BFF because I am honest about things, and it's not just like my psychological sociology trauma brain. It's like you're having wine with me, and I'm giving you the honest feedback about stuff and how I apply it. And that's what we're doing here. This is what this segment is every Monday. So the question I get asked is, should I pay or should I not? Like, I want to be in my feminine when I go on dates. I just got this question when I was on a podcast interview, so I'm bringing it here because it's fresh on my heart. What was she saying? So, like, I want to be in my feminine, but when I'm on dates, I am paying, one, and I can't stop talking, two, I'm not good at silence. So I kind of want to talk on both those points because I feel like so many of us can be in this where we're dating and we're so caught up in our head, and I want to be chosen, and I don't want to piss him off, and I don't, blah, 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 and it's like, should I pay or should I not? Let's start with that one. And so, I'm going to write down so I remember my other point because I get off on tangents. When it comes to should you pay or should you, not on the first date, me personally, I don't want to pay for shit ever in my relationship. There's a way of doing this, right? But in the beginning stages of dating, I don't even go for my wallet. I'm not going to pretend. And if that pisses someone off, that's fine. That's just not the person for me, right? And that's just the way it is. And like, for me, I really want to be with a man that is, courts me, comes to the door, opens the door to the car, is very polite, is a slow burn, is respectful, is passionate, is, the things that my partner is and was in the beginning stages. Like, it took him to the third date to even kiss me. Like, it's a slow burn because there is no rush, because I respect you and you respect me, and it's kind of like the olden days where it's this whole thing. And so that's the type of relationship I desire to be in. So really sitting with yourself, what type of relationship do you desire to be in? Or are you, lowering your standards so that you can fit the modern dating mold? if you're a high value woman, like I know that you are, don't do that. Don't do that, right? We live in a dating culture right now that is very lazy and interesting and protected, and hierarchies and pedestally and traumas being passed left and right, and it's just not the vibe. So if you're looking for someone that does court you and has these things, like, you have to lead in that, right? Like, you have to be so grounded in your beliefs and your standard and your thing, in your outlook on what dating is, that you hold that. And there's different energies of this. And this is what I was talking about on this interview, where it's like, you can go about dating and it can be like, well, I've been through this and I've been through this and you're going to do this and you're going to do this. And it's this wounded feminine kind of broken mothering energy because you think you deserve it. That's not the vibe, because that's wounded and that's from insecurity. When you are so secure in yourself, and this is a thing where it's like, I know I could pay for whatever the fuck I want. I know that. I don't need my partner to do that. I like the gesture. He likes to give the gesture, right? It's this, he likes to give and I like to receive. He likes to be in his masculine, I like to be in my feminine. And so I know that that's something that's very important in my relationship. So even when I was dating prior to meeting him, that's just not, like, I just wouldn't even reach for my wallet. And I know that's not going to jive for everyone, but like, why would I even pretend that that's what I do if that's not the type of relationship that I desire? If you're okay with that, then that's something you can do. And it does get to the point eventually, if you merge finances and whatever, that you can have a conversation. Like my past relationship, when we were at that stage, we had like a date fund, right? So every Monday we would deposit a certain amount of money into our account and he would pay for every date. But we would have this account. So it wasn't only just him paying over time, because it did start to add up quite a lot because I'm a bougie bitch. But I never took out my card. I didn't want the act of me. I didn't want to do any of that. So it was something where it was like, he got to lead in that arena. Money was direct deposit. So I didn't, or auto payment. So like, I didn't have to even think about it. I didn't have to, you get in this type of energy with being in my masculine. I didn't want to do it. I don't want to do it. That's not part of my thing. So when it comes to you, what you can do is really have that conversation with yourself. What type of relationship do I desire to have? And am I embodied in that practice? What is the standard that I have for myself, and am I practicing that? And at the end of the day, this is really practicing your receivership, which is healing your trauma, which is healing the wounded feminine within, so that you can have a grounded, sacred, what I like to call in my practice, the living sanctuary. And it's having this type of practice where it's like, you know, you're deserving of that. Like, you're not going to people please. It's like, will he like me? Will he not if I don't do this? If he doesn't like you for that, it's not your person. If that is something that you are truly grounded in. If it doesn't fucking matter to you, then don't make it a thing. It doesn't matter. You can split the bill. It's not a big deal, right? Like, if it's something where you like to treat people like this is your thing, like whatever, go ahead. But I know a lot of us, it's like, I just want to be courted. I want to surrender. I want to be raptured. I want to be in my feminine. It's like, allow that person, because at the end of the day, when we get super fidgety, when we get like, oh, I'm going to do this or I'm going to think that, like, you're so caught up in how you think you should act that you're not present for that date even, right? And going beyond that, yes, I get this person is essentially a stranger, but if you want to trust their masculinity to lead, allow them to. And if this is the way that the first initiation of that is, like, oftentimes we're so afraid that they won't, so we rob it from them before they even can. So when you're sitting there and it's just like this whatever thing, and it's just like, oh, thank you so much, like, and like genuinely meaning it, like, it's like, thank you so much, it's just such a great time, whatever, and then can go from there. But you know, giving your gratitude, knowing that you see that they just paid for whatever the fuck it is, and like, you love it so much, and you're like delighted, like that feminine joy and like genuine gratitude. I'm over the top with all this fucking shit. Like, it doesn't have to be the way that I do it, but like recognition that they did do that, and then carry on with your fucking day. That's it. But like, practice your receivership. If you want to be with someone and you want to trust their masculinity, like, trust them that that's what they'll do. And if it does come up where it's like, oh, should we split this? Of course. Yes, and then you do that, and then you get to make the decision. For me, I wouldn't go on a second date because that's not the type of person that I want to be with, because this is important, right? So it's really understanding what's important to you when it comes to dating. Is it important if they pay or if they don't? And navigating from there. And if it is something that irks you and you do want to be courted, train them, essentially. Like, I hate that phrase, but it's like, if that's deep within you and it really does grow this bitterness that you're splitting the bill half the time, or, you know, you're having to pay for things, it's going to grow bitterness within you, which is going to grow resentment, which is the number one relationship fucking killer. It's the killer. It literally dries up your vagina. It's like, I'm resentful of you. I don't actually want to be doing it, but because I planted the seed in the beginning, therefore now I'm stuck in this. So don't do that from the beginning. Don't pretend to be something you're not just so you get chosen, and then 2 months down the line, you're bitter, and then you're changing, and your partner's like, who is this? Don't do that. Be the version of you that you desire to be throughout the entire relationship. Of course, you're going to up level and evolve, but like core things like this, where it's like a core, I don't know, belief, value that you want to be courted. Don't cut yourself short of that. Don't think that you're being too much. Like, there is an entire species of high value men that love that. They love it. They'll open the door for you. They'll come to the front door on your first date. They'll open your car door. They'll pay for essentially everything for you. Like, that exists. And that's not to say, because we also get in this wounded feminine thing of like, well, I don't want him to think that I need him to pay for everything. You don't need him to think anything. You know that you can pay for everything. It's just, do you desire to when it comes to your dating life? I know I could buy everything that I desire. Do I love the fact that I haven't paid for shit in my entire relationship with my sexy man? I love it. I literally think the only thing I bought is like a journal when we were at Barnes & Noble one time. And that's the type of relationship that I desire. Can I? Of course. Of course I can. But that's just not the dynamic of the relationship I desire. So I don't need to prove that to him. Right? So you don't need, if you're coming in and you're having that type of roadblock where it's like, yeah, but I don't want him to think X, Y, Z. It's like, if you don't think that, if you genuinely don't think that, he's not going to think that either. Right? Like, your beliefs are your beliefs. He's not going to pick up on false beliefs if you don't believe that to be true. Like, your energy is not going to be confusing because it's grounded in who you are. This is why it's so important to do the trauma work around relationship, around receivership, and around money. Like, there's so many things within relationships. When you say how much value your presence brings to a date and conversation, and you start to feel worthy of him paying, he also often loves to provide. Exactly. So it's like you're sitting there and it's like, you know, you're worthy of receiving, and like it's in your power, and it's one of these things. It's like you trust him, and he, like most high value men, and I assume that's who majority of you guys want to call in, they want to provide for you, right? Like, they want to. And even if you're the breadwinner, right? Like, even when you're the breadwinner, they provide in other ways, right? Like I said, me and my last partner, it's like we had a joint date fund, and he provided in other ways, but like I was still kind of contributing because things were a little bit out there. But it's one of those things where it's like he still wanted to provide. My partner wants to provide, you know, even when you're the breadwinner. It's not about emasculating your man and being like, oh, fuck. Like, well, I know he doesn't make as much money as me. I know he doesn't have as much. It's like, in what ways can you allow him to step up to the plate then? In what other arenas? You know, like, can you cook at home? Does he, you know, take care of you, protect you? Does he, you know, make sure things are done around the house and make sure that you feel safe so that you can do your magic in the world that gives you that high paying salary? Like, whatever it is, how does he provide? You know, like, we give so much fucking energy to money, and it kills a lot of potentiality in relationships. It is emasculating. It is, you know, it puts us in our masculine. It emasculates men. Like, it's one of these things. And it's like, if you actually give it this positive energy, it's like this opportunity where it's like, oh, thank you so much for this meal. Like, this coffee is the best coffee in the whole entire world. Or this croissant, like, I'm loving this freaking lunch. Like, thank you so much. Like, they love to give you joy. Like, a healed, full, high value man loves to see you happy. And right, men also, they want recognition, right? So don't just like pretend it didn't happen and like swipe it under the rug because you don't even want to like talk about money and you have all these money wounds. It's like men love recognition, like, and not like the mothering energy where it's like, good boy, ding, 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 good boy. Like, it's like, oh my God, thank you. That made me feel so good. This feels so good. And he will feel so incredible in that. Exactly. It's like, it's sitting and just being like, oh, like use I feel statements, not like you did so good, good boy. Like, it's like, oh my gosh, I feel so good. That was so good. Like, I am so happy. Like, use I statements when you're giving your gratitude to them. Like, they fucking love it. They love it. We all love it, right? Like, we all just want to be fucking seen for what we're providing. And so just sit in that space. And so if you are a high value woman and you still want to not pay for shit, it's like, then stand in that. That's okay. Like, own that part of yourself. I have no shame in saying, like, I am never taking out my credit card when I am around with my boyfriend. It's not happening. Right? That's me. That's what I claim. Like, if that irks you and it's like one of these things, it's like, then that's not for you. That's okay. Everyone else has their own thing. But if that is you, it's like, how can you get comfortable in that? Like, claiming full ownership over that's what it is. And then can you sit there and just be like in full gratitude that you get to be in receivership? And if that still feels like a crunch and you're still kind of wounded in that space, it's like, okay, let's work on your receivership. Let's regulate your nervous system around this. Let's play with it. Let's turn it on. Let's be in this space. Like, it's fixable, right? Like, it's just not, like, don't pretend like it's not there or that it didn't happen. It's definitely there. It's definitely there. So how can we really show up and allow this to be? So that was number one. And then the second one was feeling like she's in her masculine because she's always talking on dates and like doesn't feel good with silence, and like feeling like she needs to ask the questions all the time. Tell me you can't relate. This has to do with, again, going back to receivership. Like, allow him to lead and ask you questions and getting to know you. Like, let him take that lead. And it goes back to, do you trust him to do that? And like, get very comfortable, do the trauma work to regulate your nervous system around silence. Like, we do this thing where our brain gets lost, that because if something is quiet, therefore it means it's bad. When, like, having a comfortable silence, like, to me, that's one of the deepest forms of intimacy. Granted, that's probably not going to happen on the first date. I hope not. But, like, if it does and you're both comfortable, perfect, right? But if you're feeling the compulsion of, like, if I don't speak, it's going to be weird. Like, any moment of silence, oh my God, does he like me? Oh my God, is this? And that's disembodied dating, right? And this is what I speak about in Iconic. You know, this is a part of what we're talking about inside of Boundless Bonita, but it's like, how can you be in your body? And when you're in your body on a date, you're there with that person, which is so rare nowadays in this dating culture. Like, to truly be present with the person that you're with is so rare, because we're so caught up in, you know, do they like me? Am I saying the right thing? Why aren't they asking me questions? Do I look okay? Oh my God, are they going to notice that, like, I'm a little bit chunky today? Oh my God, can they smell my BO? Like, oh, fuck, like, am I going to get chosen? And we're so caught up that we're not even listening to the person in front of us, even though we just asked 8,000 questions, right? And so as we're going through these dating series and, you know, looking at these things where it's like, I feel like I'm not asking enough questions, like, or I'm feeling like I'm asking too many questions and I'm feeling like I'm in my masculine. It's like, okay. And like, that's okay. And can you do work of being okay with your own silence? How often are you being okay in your own silence? And practice it, right? Like, we're going to practice. It's going to feel fucking weird at first. You're going to feel like an imposter. Your trauma, like oversharing and speaking too much and all these things that we do, that's a trauma response from childhood. That's, you know, we didn't get things out. We feel like we need to do this in order to be accepted. We feel like, well, if they don't know everything about me, then, you know, then they can't choose, like, they won't actually know me, and then all these kind of things, and I have to tell them everything. And therefore, then they can make a choice, and it's like, whoa, no, you don't. That's trauma response. And so learning how to regulate your nervous system in spaces like that, where it's like, okay, And I talk about this where it's like we have our 3 stages of our nervous system. We have our ventral, which is like when we're connected, we're empathetic, we're caring, we're kind, we're present, we're all the kind of things. We have our sympathetic, which is when we're excited and we're super happy and all these things, but also when we're anxious and we're fearful and all that states. And then we have our dorsal, which is when, we can be just a little quiet, and it's usually when around the time of your moon or when we're depressed and disassociated. And so when we're bouncing through these 3 all day long, we do this, but noticing where in your body do you feel it and how does that show up for you? What is usually, the reactive state that you're having that can kind of guide you in that if you're not yet embodied. But usually when you get to a point, when you've done the work that I teach and my unique tools that I teach, it's like you can feel what part of your body you're in. And therefore you can control what energy is being matched with you in certain situations. So you can essentially become a living sanctuary, right? Like that's the key point. And so when you're on dates and you're feeling this compulsion to like overshare or speak too much because you're, just feeling uncomfortable with silence, is like, oh, you're probably in your sympathetic. So how can I drop my energy down a little bit? How can I feel okay? Know that you're the damn prize and allow them to lead, because they will eventually have to ask questions about you. But if you jump in right away, making it a job interview essentially, because that's how a lot of people date nowadays. It's like, well, what do you do? What can you provide for me? Essentially, instead of actually getting to know the person across the table, because you have your checklist of your red flags in your head. So let me ask questions to make sure you don't hit any of these. You hit all my red flags. So let me keep asking questions to try and justify the fact that red flags just happen. And then we're stuck in this cycle, right? So if you can pause for a second before even entering into the date, calm yourself down a little bit, get your energy out, maybe have a dance party in the car, shake it out, do whatever, call your best friend, activate your voice, and just be there. Just be there, right? Holding eye contact is a fun thing. Like if you can, touch the glass that you're having, like feel it in your hands, observe. For me, I like to observe. I love Prosecco, so I love to watch the bubbles float to the top, and it's like a little party. Like how many ways can you get present in the current moment, right? How can you be there instead of reacting from all the narratives and all the stories and all the things that are going on because of all the heartbreaks before? The truth is that person is not your past because he was never there. And you are not your past because you've done the work to get to where you are. And you haven't done the work, then step into Iconic or step into one of Boundless Bonita or one of our programs or things like that. But like, know that like this isn't your past because you're not that person. And just, it's a slow burn. You're just getting to know them. It's not your husband in front of you. You don't have to know everything on the first date. You don't have to know anything for the first 3 months. Even like if this is your person for the rest of eternity, what the fuck is the rush? I was talking about this in the podcast interview, and it's like she brought up a good point, and it's so funny because me and my partner, we're all about the slow burn, right? Like I said, it was like the 3rd date till he kissed me, and I just asked him recently, I was like, why did it take so long? And he's like, this is like a forever thing, like what's the rush? Right? And this is how we feel about everything. It's like, granted, distance makes things a little bit slower because we are long distance right now, but it's like, we know this is a lifetime, right? Like if this, right? So if that person sitting across from you is meant to be with you for a lifetime, you're only going to get so many firsts in this chapter of dating and getting to know each other. So can you slow it down? Right? And it's not about building mystery and withholding information. It's just not rushing to get it. And those are 2 different energies. And so slowing it down and bringing it back to like, what can I learn about you right now? What can I learn about me in the process of dating you right now? Like my shifting of my attachment styles, or the awareness of my nervous system, or how I like to play with, my sexuality and my sensuality. Like how can I like drive this up in my flirtation and, the image that I build? Like how can I really build this so that this eventually you're going to know everything about that person sitting across from you, if it's your person eventually. You don't have to figure that out on the first date. I know we want to protect ourselves. I know, well, I don't want them to hurt me, and I don't want this to be a waste of my time, and I don't want to like miss out on my person. And it's like, every person you date and you spend time with is the right person for that moment. There is no rush. And so if it's the right person for that moment, it's like, there is no one else. It's just right now. That's all you have. And so trusting that, like, it's okay to get connected to someone, right? Like, it's okay. This is what I talk about in the program Unattached, where we talk about attachment styles. And in it, I tell you how healthy it is to actually be in a healthy attachment with someone. To allow yourself to fall in your heart, because if you've done the work and you trust yourself, you know you will always be okay if you put 2 feet in. It's never a waste of time. Nothing you do has ever been a waste of time. If you're on this path of growth and iconic success, which I know you are, none of it's a waste of time. So slow it down, right? Come back, do the trauma work. It's okay. You're fine. There's no need to fill the gaps. There's no need to rush and ask all your questions. If you're desiring your man to lead, and that is a normal fucking desire, you have to do the work to lean back and trust that he will. There's a lot of wounded mothering energy out there right now in this dating world. There's a lot of hierarchy and putting yourself on pedestals and thinking people won't do it, and really, really putting men down in the dating world of there are no good men. There are so many good men. So many of them. And they're not all taken either. Like, don't worry about that. It's just, we as women, it's our responsibility to do the work to learn how to lean back, how to set a new standard, how to practice receiving, how to regulate your nervous system so that you are a safe place for someone to land. So that when they come and they want to date you, it doesn't feel like, holy pickles, this is a job interview. It's like, wow, I'm not even aware of how much time passed because this was so present and fun and new. Because be the outlier in the dating world. Like, do the work to be the outlier. So every time you meet someone, they're like, whoa. And then you have a plethora to pick from because you got your own back, right? So that's it. That's what we're doing inside of Iconic. All these kind of things. If you want to reach out, come hang out. That's a 6-month one-on-one container with me. Or if you're looking to up-level your body image so that you can date with ease and really be present and dress your body in the way that makes you proud, to feel good for the body that you're in, to have a healthy relationship between the, feminine and the sexuality and the sensuality and the fucking CEO bossy bougie bitch. Like, these are the vibes that we're going to be covering inside of this in relationship to body image. And the first module drops January 22nd. So they are pre-recorded. Don't worry about that. But we're going to have a Voxer group for the live aspect. So no fucking excuses that I'm busy and I don't have time. Like, I have eliminated that one for you because it is pre-recorded. You get to watch whenever you want. And Voxer is an audio app that you can use whenever for those 3 days to ask questions when they arise. So I love you. Let me know how this lands for you. Share this with someone that you have had this conversation with, right? That you know could benefit from this. And let me know in the comments what comes up and what you have questions for next time. So I love you and happy healings.